Welcome to the Wareham Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, October 20th, 2021. We have Carol and Ron and Sandy and Kwame, Michael and Denise. Not in any order, just please, I can remember the names. Before we start the public hearing, I want to say something. I got a call from Mr. Bichette about some tree clearing that happened along Onset Bluffs. I went down there and looked at it. There's at least almost 12 to 13 trees that as much as 8 to 10 inches in diameter that have been cut, sawed off, and left to lie on the bank. Now, I turned around and looked up Hotel Street to say, who's going to benefit from the lack of all those trees? 3 Hotel Street, 2 Ocean Ave, 181 Onset Ave now have a beautiful view of the Onset Harbor. And we don't have our trees anymore. So I'm just asking anybody, if you hear something, let the policeman know. This is going to go, a formal complaint will be made to the police department about the unlawful clearing of trees, not only on town property, but in a coastal bank. Not good. And I'm hoping there are some cameras around that will tell us who did this clearing, because it was about, 8 months ago, we had another set of trees cut down on Onset Bluff to improve someone's vista. Not pleasing. It was sickening. You can't even get down the the stone walkway anymore because the tree limbs are just on top of the stairs. I'm not happy about that at all. But please, if you're on set, watch out for our land, our trees, and if you see something, call the police about unlawful cutting. Now that I've ranted, please have our first hearing.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Massachusetts, or via Zoom if in-person meetings are deemed to be inappropriate due to COVID-19. On Wednesday, October 20th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. on the request for determination of applicability for Stanley Crowell, 22 Judson Street, Wareham, Massachusetts, 02571, to construct additions located on Assessor's Map 50E4, Lot 538, 22 Judson Street, Wareham, Massachusetts.
Is there anybody here to speak for this project? Please come up and introduce yourself on the mic.
My name's Stanley Crowell.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Bichette will read to the project, then you can make any comments you'd like to add.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Do you have your abutter cards?
Sorry?
Do you have the abutter cards?
The green cards?
Yeah. I have 9 out of 10 of them.
That's okay, I'll take what you have.
Okay.
Thank you.
The one that I didn't receive, I wrote on the front there.
Okay. Okay, so the project site is at 22 Judson Street in the Swift's Beach area, and the project involves the construction of additions within a coastal flood zone. There's a couple of additions proposed. There's a 12 by 17 foot addition proposed to the existing house, and a 12 by 20 foot addition proposed to the existing garage within coastal flood zone AE elevation 15. The site or the work is not within the buffer zone to any other resource areas. There's no significant grade changes proposed. And there is also going to be a deck added around the addition at the house as well. And that would be on sonotube footings. with that, I would recommend the issuance of a negative determination number 2 to approve the project.
Stan, anything to add?
No, the 22, the house already has a deck. We're just gonna pull that off and do the addition of the room and then put a deck back on. So it has a deck now and it'll have a deck afterwards.
Any questions, Kwame?
No questions.
Denise?
When we spoke the other day, you said that you were having gutters put on for the
Yes.
water runoff problem that you were having.
Yeah, either at the end of this week or beginning of next week.
Thank you.
Yeah. On the house and the garage.
Okay. Michael?
No questions.
Ron?
I'm just kind of looking over the plans here a little bit. What's the existing size of the house right now for bedrooms and bathrooms?
What is the existing size of the house?
Yeah, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms right now?
There's one bathroom, and the bedrooms, I guess there's 3, but none of them have closets, so I'm not sure. It's been in our family for 38 years,
Okay.
and we just moved in, and we're just trying to make it a home now.
So is it going to be a permanent residence for you?
Yes, it
Okay.
is, yeah.
That's it.
Carol?
Thank you.
No questions.
Anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this project? I'm seeing none.
Motion to close the hearing.
Second?
I
Second.
have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the hearing is closed.
Make a motion to approve the project with a negative determination number 2.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for -2. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. You have approval. Please see Mr. Bichette before you start the work.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, please. And pass that down the way for me.
Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Massachusetts, or via Zoom if in-person meetings are deemed to be inappropriate due to COVID-19 on Wednesday, October 20th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. On the notice of intent for Jill Wright, care of GAF Engineering Incorporated, 266 Main Street, Wareham, Massachusetts, 02571, to construct stone walls in a parking area located on Assessors Map 35, Lot 21, 55 Edgewater Drive, Wareham, Massachusetts.
Thank you. I'm waiting.
What's that?
I'm waiting.
Okay, sorry, I don't want to keep you waiting too long.
No, that's all right.
You want some half size, or I have some half size?
We have some.
Be a little tougher to read, but
Yeah, but it gives me a better overview.
No, I'm all set with this one, thank you.
Like a half size.
I'm set.
Sure, why not?
We'll pass them out.
And you hit your finger with the mask
And then-
that we're wearing.
Please, for the record, please identify yourself.
I'm Bill Madden from GAF Engineering here on behalf of Jill and Michael Wright.
Thank you. Ms. Bichette? Oh, here they are, the green cards.
Okay, this project site is at 55 Edgewater Drive, and the project involves the installation of a cobble parking area, stone wall, and stairs in the buffer zone to a coastal bank. This application is in response to a violation that occurred at this location, which involves starting this project without Conservation Commission approval. Excavation to install the footing and base of wall had already been started at the site. The engineered plan indicates the location of the coastal bank line. And there's a 65-foot stone wall proposed between the road and the house to create a level area for the cobble parking area. Stairs are proposed between the new wall and an existing stone wall at the site. The new wall and parking area are only approximately 12 feet from the top of the coastal bank. So I did have a couple of questions in terms of what was that proposed parking area like prior to the work being done? Was it previously used as a parking area? Is it previously disturbed? In other parts of the site, the disturbed areas are proposed to be loamed and seeded. When I looked at this site and plans, I had also noticed that there's an existing dock at the property, and it did not appear that that had been constructed according to the approved site plan. So it looks like it was constructed shorter than what was approved, which ends up with the float being in water that's not really deep enough and would rest on the bottom at low tide. So I had brought this up and recommended that this item be added to the plan to be addressed as well. We did get a DEP file number for this project. And so at this time, I would recommend a continuance just to get the additional information relative to the pier straightened out. And I'll let Mr. Madden explain where things are at with the rest of the project.
Okay, I'll address the pier first. There's a note on the border of the plan, and it talks about the proposed pier. It was proposed at the time. One of the prior owners, Dave Southern, 1988, obtained a permit to install that pier. Dave is correct. It was, I think, proposed to be 95 feet, and it's something along the lines of 62 feet in length right now. If you look at the Chapter 91 waterways license, you know, it's right at mean low water where the float is now. Extreme low water is a little bit further out beyond that. The interesting thing associated with the pier and the way it was constructed is, as the notes on the plan indicate, we did receive, or the applicant did receive, a certificate of compliance for the dock in its current state from the Conservation Commission. So in our opinion, that project was accepted as it was constructed and closed out, and we don't really have any plans to do anything with that. So I don't know how, it's one of these rare instances where we're able to uncover a recorded certificate of compliance for an activity that took place. But I don't see how we can be held to a standard when a project has been completed and approved by the commission. So that's my comment that I have with respect to the dock. They really don't want to extend it out there. There's no benefit to extending it out there. The extension of the dock would be not in compliance with the current dock permit guidelines in the local wetland bylaw. Don't know if anything positive would come out of it by extending it or requiring it to be extended. So there is no real desire to do that.
So just two comments I guess I would make on that. One, based on the plan, it looks like the pier or the float wouldn't be at a point where the water depth would be of the required depth below the float. And secondly, a certificate of compliance may have been issued, but I guess we'd have to go back and do a little digging as well, because we don't know if a certificate of compliance was issued and then the pier was modified after that. We have no way of knowing that. So that's something we would have to, I guess, try to piece together to see what the story is with that. So I would think that should be looked into, because I think the pier was proposed and approved at a certain length to achieve what I would say would be an adequate water depth. So just based on what I'm seeing on your plan, it does look to me like the float's only at mean low water right now.
Well, the Chapter 91 license plans, which I have a copy of those, I'd be happy to forward them to you. They indicate that the float, that the dock, pier, and float assembly, to be extended out 95 feet, would still be landward of low water. So the numbers that are showing up on that 88 plan indicate the depth of the water be like minus .07 feet, which is roughly 8 inches at mean low water. Now, you know, I can't speak directly to the datum that they used and what have you, but the water's very low out there, regardless of whether that is in its current position or in an extended position. And I don't think there's anything beneficial. Like I said, I don't know how we could do it and still be in conflict. Extend it to a previous license length, it would still be in conflict with your bylaw, and I don't see how that would.
It might be, but it might be closer than what it currently is to meeting it. Again, I'd have to look at some further detail to figure out what's what with that, but I had to bring it up because it's not consistent with what the,
Yeah,
what the
and
plan shows.
I'll provide you with the Chapter 91, the certificate of compliance, and a comment on the depth.
Sure.
And Dave will do some research onto the prior certification of compliance that was issued, what, 1988?
1988, yep. I think it was 80. I have it with me. I'd give you my copy, but I think
No,
I
that's
only have one.
That's all right.
Okay.
Dave will research our paperwork and our minutes and stuff like that regarding it. Okay?
Do you want the DEP file number by any chance for that? Will that help you?
Sure.
It's SE 76520. So that's back to triple digits
That's an old
some
one.
time ago, right?
That's an old one.
Okay. Now we're on to the stone wall and parking area.
Okay, let's see, what was the question on this? I'm sorry,
In terms of the area to be created as a parking area, what did that exist like previously?
Okay, there's a dashed line that you can basically make out underneath the proposed cobblestones, and you know, you can see that line, and that line indicates the line of the crushed stone that was up there. Well, it's currently there today. So there is parking up there. They do use it. It's, you know, part of this whole exercise was to have a little bit more inviting entrance into the house, a little better parking arrangement, a little safer situation for people and what have you. And it is used, and it's the primary parking area. So we'd like to enlarge it to some degree so that it's usable, keep the vehicles out of Edgewater Drive and place them on the lot.
All right. Questions? Carol?
No questions at this time.
Ron?
None at this time.
Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
Denise?
When I was out to the site, there was a driveway, if you're facing the house, off to the left. Is that driveway for this property or the other property?
On the left-hand side.
It's
down
the,
here,
it's the private way.
Yeah, that's for the adjacent lot, but I think where it's a private way, there are other people that will have rights to that private way,
That
but I
private
think
way,
it's
okay.
predominantly for 57.
Okay, thank you.
Michael?
Yeah, just on this map right here, I see where the 30-foot no activity zone is, but then the lines point to two directions. So where's the actual border for that?
Where's the actual, I'm sorry,
On the map, where the 30-foot no activity zone is, I'm just out of curiosity, but the arrow's pointing to two directions. Which line is that pointing to?
let me see if I can see it, first of all.
It tells you where the top of the coastal bank
Is
is.
it the top of the hill?
Yeah, and therefore you got 30 feet after that, so they're showing.
Bank is the inner line.
Oh, so this is,
That's the coastal bank.
All right.
30 feet out from that.
Okay, so this is where the borders are, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the resource area is the coastal bank, and that coastal, top of that coastal bank is actually the 100-year coastal flood elevation, and then we offset that 30 feet.
All right, 'cause I was just trying to find where the border was. Okay, thanks.
There's a lot of stonework done at this property. When was it done? Not the one being worked on right now, but prior to that. Had they been there a long time?
It was there done by the prior owner, as far as we know. It was not done by the current owner. I can't really put a date
No, I'm just trying to think. And we, at that time, we didn't have our 30-foot bylaw in place. It was that
Yeah,
long ago.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's why the yellow additions that are shown over there, that's another project that we presented to the commission in 2008 for some additions that were actually on the coastal bank in the resource area. They were approved, the construction was conducted, built, and a certificate of compliance was issued for that work as well,
How long, sorry, what was the date of that?
2008.
Just before me.
Yeah. But I think what I'm trying to get at is, how the bylaw talks about the cumulative impacts of activities in resource areas and in buffer zone. And I think this is a rare instance where you can actually see what has happened, permitting wise, for a couple of instances, at least with the dock and with the small house additions. And I don't think there's been any adverse impact as a result of those permitted activities on the site. And that's why we just wanted to show where those occurred. I mean, we're like, 12 years, 13 years later now? So it's just for information for the commission.
The parking area has previously been disturbed. It's on top of the, what was new was the trenching to put in the stone walls. And they came before us with a enforcement order of, I think, May of 2019. At that time, we stopped the work, is that correct?
Not 19, no.
Oh,
This was
20.
more
20?
recent.
21, May of 21?
Yeah.
And which we said, stop the work because we did not permit the digging of the trench for the new
Well,
wall. Yeah, May 21.
You issued an enforcement order, and what the enforcement order stated was the activities occurred in a coastal flood zone, in a BVW, and on a coastal bank. And, the activities after we went out there and did our survey work, the activities actually occurred in the 30-foot no-activity zone, not within the resource area. And I know that,
Yep.
Dave took his best estimate of what was going on out there. You don't know exactly where it all is. We get that. But the activities that are subject to the enforcement order in the subsequent notice of intent are related to really the activities that occurred in the 30-foot no activity zone, notwithstanding the comment we have about the dock.
Okay. Yes, there was a very active site, a lot of stages and activity to it. Is there, at the time, I'm just going to say, at the time we did the enforcement order, we did not issue any fines at that time? Just a heads up, okay? Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on this project? And we're going to ask for a continuance to do some research on the pier. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, you
There's a
can-
stone,
Denise, do me a favor, take your,
oh, thank God.
can't hear you.
There's a stone path that runs from the house through and out to the dock also. Was that allowed?
That has been there, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
So I have a motion to continue to, we're going to go to the next meeting?
and the next
Uh,
meeting,
Or you want
November 3rd.
November
to?
3rd.
Motion to continue to November 3rd.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to continue to November 3rd. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. So we will have an, okay?
What's that? Oh, yeah, no, I'm
November
fine.
3rd.
Very good. Thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome. All right, you all have a nice night. Thank you.
You too, Bill, thanks.
You. Yeah, let me hang on to that.
Ready for the next one?
Ready for the next one.
Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaws, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Massachusetts, or via Zoom if in-person meetings are deemed to be inappropriate due to COVID-19, on Wednesday, October 20th, 2021, at 6:30 p.m. on the notice of intent for Joyce Wall, care of JC Engineering Incorporated, 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Massachusetts, 02538, to demolish an existing dwelling and to construct a new dwelling, paved driveway, and utilities located on Assessors Map 1, Lot 374, 14 North Boulevard, Wareham, Massachusetts.
Thank you.
You-
All right. Please identify yourself if you are supporting the project.
Sam Iamelli with JC Engineering. Iamelli.
Hallelujah. All right, Mr. Bichette will read to the project.
Okay, this project site is at 14 North Boulevard in Onset, and the project involves the demolition of an existing dwelling and the construction of a new dwelling within the buffer zone to a coastal beach and also within a coastal flood zone. The existing dwelling on this lot is to be demolished, and a new roughly 20 by 40-foot dwelling is proposed in the same general location. And this is in the buffer zone to a coastal beach that exists on the other side of the street from the subject lot. The subject site is also within a coastal flood zone, Zone AE, elevation 14. There are no significant grade changes proposed as part of the project, and again, the house is basically going back into the same place as the existing. It will be raised up to the current flood standard that's required. We did get a DEP file number for the project, and so I would recommend the issuance of the order of conditions with the standard conditions for the project.
Sam, anything to add?
I think that was summarized well. I do not.
Any questions? Kwame,
No questions, thanks.
Denise?
The first floor has to be a foot above elevation 14, so approximately 10 feet above the grade, current grade.
It does say it's a three-story building.
So the first floor is going to be a drive-under garage,
And then two.
followed by 2 stories of living space.
Anything else?
And from what I understand, the problem was that there was a chimney
Denise,
fire?
I can't,
Oh, the
Keep it
problem,
down.
was a chimney fire at this house, and that's why,
Correct. It was damaged in a fire
Fire.
of September of last year.
thank you.
Yeah, also, just out of curiosity, it looks like the existing driveway is going to be going to stay there, correct? Or the driveway is going to be basically in the same spot?
Yeah, so a new driveway will be to allow cars to drive under the structure, and then there's resemblance of an existing driveway, gravel driveway there, which will most likely stay in place or restored to its natural condition in the back area.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, is there going to be a new driveway also be built in the front of it as well?
Yes, if you look in front of the structure, from the front of the structure to the street, it's approximately 10 feet. And a driveway would be proposed in that location.
The green
Correct.
outlines. Yeah.
And there's nothing but grass there at the moment, correct?
Correct.
so it's gonna be tarred over.
Correct. Approximately, like I said, 10 feet from the structure to the pavement.
I'm sorry, anything else?
No, that's all, thank you. Hold on a second.
I heard him. I wasn't talking into the mic. Ron, any questions?
I mean, looking at this plan, my biggest question that I have is the existing driveway being gravel, and we talk about a paved driveway. I would like to see the driveway to stay gravel or some type of material like that rather than be paved, because I think that's what you were getting at, right, Mike?
Yeah, and I'm not sure why we're adding another driveway and right there. That was just my only concern, because I can understand why the structure's being torn down and new one built, that's fine. But I'm looking at the driveway situation, I'm just a little concerned why we're even adding a new driveway, especially onto a road that's a little tight as well. So that was just my only concern. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, no, that's my biggest thing is I'm all for, getting the house rebuilt based on the circumstance, but I would like to really see the driveway stay what it currently is rather than having it be paved over, for the water to be able to actually, go into the ground rather than run off into the road or what have you. That's my only comment.
Okay.
Carol?
No, they covered it, thank you, nothing else.
So what they're looking at is this paved driveway will go from one end of the house to the other so they can park under the building?
Correct, yep.
Then they also have use of an existing gravel driveway virtually the whole length of the property?
That's correct, yes. It's very overgrown. We showed it as a gravel driveway, but if you take a ride out there.
Dirt and the stone, and it's not a formal gravel, it's just well-worn because the neighbor has been using it as their pass-through driveway going around it for
Yes.
a long time.
That's correct.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this project? Okay, we are looking for any comments on the Ron's proposal that it cannot be a paved driveway. It has to be pervious. Is
Pervious.
that what we're hearing?
That's
Yes.
my request, yes.
Do you think the homeowners would object to that?
I don't believe so, no. But I wouldn't want to eliminate that either.
I mean, I think as a board, if we decide that that's what we want,
Could put that in our
As
order
a
of conditions?
I think we need to condition
It
it
needs to
that
be included.
the project to be approved is going to be contingent on keeping the driveway
Pervious.
pervious and
Pervious.
not paving over.
Okay, so there's nobody here. Can we close the hearing?
Motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the hearing's closed.
I make a motion to approve the project with the standard order of conditions with the additional condition of a pervious driveway staying currently without paving over.
Second.
That the driveway is built as a pervious driveway.
Pervious driveway.
That is the motion. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained.
Thank you.
Before you start the work, see Dave.
Will do.
Okay.
Two of them in there.
Yes, please.
Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Massachusetts, or via Zoom if in-person meetings are deemed to be inappropriate due to COVID-19, on Wednesday, October 20th, 2021, at 6:30 p.m. on the notice of intent for Frank Tramontazzi, Co-Atlantic Coast Engineering, 88 Front Street, Suite 22B, Situate, Mass. 02066, to construct an extension to an existing pier located on Assessors Map 3, lots 53A and 253A and 252, 31 and 33 Prospect Street, Wareham, Massachusetts.
Thank you. It's my understanding they have asked for a continuance until November 3rd. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Motion to continue to November 3rd.
See if
Second.
there's
Was there anybody here
Aye.
that came here for this project? We're here, we are going to continue until 11:03. So I make a motion.
Motion to continue to November 3rd.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, we're continued until 11:03. If you go down there, take a look. There is a floating device off the pier, which has got a dinghy tied up on it, and I can't find that in the plan. So, I looked. All right. Next one, we have a hearing for a Tech Associates for the Railroad Corridor. Is there anybody here for that project?
I haven't heard from that applicant, so I would recommend that this be continued to the next meeting.
Is there anybody here for this project? All right,
Motion to continue to November 3rd.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, we're continued until 11:03. The next one is the Point Independence Yacht Club. Place in here, I have it. Thank you. Please identify yourselves.
Madam Chair, I'm Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering.
Paul Sullivan, Point Independent Yacht Club. Chris Coppins with the Yacht Club.
Thank you. Mr. Pichette? A new plan?
There's no new plans.
Okay.
Same one.
Same one.
Then I don't want one. Yep.
You need another one?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, so this site is at the Point Independence Yacht Club and Point Independence Beach, and the project involves maintenance dredging at this site in land under the ocean and within land containing shellfish. And also proposes regrading the adjacent beach around the bulkhead to remove sand that's built up against the bulkhead. Approximately 110 cubic yards of sand is to be dredged from around the end of the wooden bulkhead near the B dock. At the last meeting, we had continued this discussion because we wanted to get a better sense of where the sand was going to be redistributed, meaning the sand that was going to be pulled away from the bulkhead along the beach. And I have since met with the Director of Municipal Maintenance, and so it's been determined that the sand will be relocated and used to fill in some gullies along Point Independence Beach that were created as a result of some recent significant rainstorm events which washed out parts of the beach. So that is currently what is going to be proposed. The plan originally proposed to redistribute the sand within an area fairly close to the Point Independence Yacht Club. So that sand now will not be distributed within that particular area. There was comments from the Mass Division of Marine Fisheries on this project, who did require a time of year restriction relative to the dredge work from January 15th to May 31st, so no dredge work within that time frame. We did get a DEP file number for this project. And so at this point, I would recommend the issuance of the order of conditions, including the time of year restriction recommended by the Mass Division of Marine Fisheries for the dredging, and with the understanding that the sand is going to be relocated by the town municipal maintenance department with help from the PIYC to initially maybe pull it away from their bulkhead. And so all that sand should be distributed above the mean high tide line. So that would be another condition. The dredge material is going to be placed up in the parking lot and removed from the site and is not proposed to be used for beach nourishment, so I would also recommend that as a condition as well. So that's pretty much it. I don't have anything further, and would recommend the approval with those conditions.
Thank you. Gentlemen, anything to add?
I think those conditions are fine with us.
Oh, I see 4 conditions. Okay. Questions on the board? Carol?
No questions.
Ron?
No questions.
Michael?
No questions?
Denise?
No questions.
Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
So if I'm understanding, the work is no work from January 15th until May 31st. Those were the dates
Just for the
dredging.
dredging.
Yeah.
for the dredging. That the town will do the relocating of the sand along the beach above high tide mark. Some assistance with the Yacht Club to remove it from their bulkhead to help with that. Let's see. And it will be stored in an upland area,
The dredge
the
material.
dredged area. The dredged sand will be stored in an upland area and later removed if it hasn't found homes on its own.
And
You
not
know,
to-
it's nice sand, so people can. Never mind. Anything else? So is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on this project?
I have a question.
Can you come up and identify yourself, please?
This is off the top of my head.
Wait,
I'm
wait,
not-
come sit and identify yourself.
William Whalen.
Okay.
The question I had was the sand location. Is that public property?
It is town-owned,
Town beach?
town-owned beach.
All right, so it'll maintain that status?
Yes.
So it won't be impacted one way or the other by this
Nope, the
project?
sand, the last rainstorm we had did a job and created a lot of washout at the end of each one of the steps in the roads that dead end at the beach.
Okay.
And so the
only
sand will
reason
just
I'm
be...
bringing that up is because there's, you're familiar, I'm sure, with past cases where things just got done, nobody saw it, and then it got so, usually with people connected with either town government or citizens, and once the damage is done, it's virtually impossible in the past to retrieve that. And I'm talking about like what was public beaches, public parking at beaches, that kind of thing. That's all I was concerned of.
I think what he's asking, it's currently a town-owned public beach, and it will remain as such.
I didn't want to go through all this. I didn't realize I was going to have to.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I saw somebody in the back that wanted to speak under this project. Please come forward and identify yourself again.
Yes, James Bigelow, co-owner, 14 Clearwater Drive, and onset adjacent property to the Yacht Club. Nothing in regards to the project itself, but I've been to the last 2 meetings, and while the municipal maintenance is down in that area, just looking for the procedures to see if we can get assistance. We've been impacted from past redistribution of the sand, and it's piling up in front of our property, my property, in that same area. So there's 3 feet of sand in front of my wall, so if you just want to give me the procedures to see if that could be included.
If they're in there moving sand, can they move some that's in front of your house?
Yes.
I think that's a good question for municipal maintenance. Dave Menard,
Okay, so just a letter to him or a phone call, or what procedures for that?
either. I
Okay.
would try a phone call,
Dave
follow
Menard.
up with a written letter.
Very good. Thank you.
I can't guarantee anything, but he's moving sand, so,
If he's right there, it's a couple
Yep.
100 feet away.
okay, thank you. Anybody else? I'm seeing none.
Motion to close the
I
hearing.
have a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I
Second.
heard a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the hearing is closed.
All right, let me see, I'll try to take a shot at this. So I make a motion to approve the project with the standard order of conditions with the added conditions that the dredging will happen between, no dredging will happen between January 15th and May 31st, as required by the Division of Marine Fisheries, that the sand will be redistributed along the beach line from some washouts that have happened over the last couple of rainstorms, that the dredged sand will be stored in the parking lot to be removed at a later date. And there's one more.
It will be distributed above mean height.
It'll be distributed above mean high water
By
municipal maintenance.
Thank you.
There you go.
That be the motion.
Just real quick, into the field, not in the parking lot. I just don't want to get hung up on a technicality. We'll store the excess.
So is it field or parking lot, Dave?
It's up in the field, and
Okay.
it's represented on the site plan, so in the location identified.
Okay, in the
on site
location
plan.
identified in the site plan. There we go, we're covered now.
Okay, so that is the motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. And it is a parking lot come winter time, because that's where a lot of stuff is stored, but that's all right. It's not the paved area, it's the grassed-in area.
Semantics.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's this. The next hearing is William and Jean Whalen, 11 Gichigumi Road. Is there anybody here representing them?
Me. William.
Okay, wait once. And Mr. Bichette will read to the project.
So this project site is at 11 Gichigumi Road, and this was a site where we had issued an enforcement order for some work that was done at this site, which involved the installation of a block retaining wall along the top of the coastal bank at this site. There was a concrete block wall with a base layer of stone, which was approximately 43 feet in length, that was installed with no approval from the commission. So the enforcement order was issued, and the owner was asked to submit an application to address the issue, which has been done. But then the recommendation was to remove the wall, and the applicant asked to continue the hearing to look at this situation to see if there were other options, and we had not heard back from the applicant for quite a number of meetings, and so the commission requested that I contact the owner and ask him to be present at the meeting tonight to give the commission the status update on what the story is and what they are in the process of doing with regards to this, to address this violation. So that's why the property owner is here, and so I'll let him provide whatever comments or update that he has.
All right, first, on your point that I or we missed quite a few meetings, that's incorrect, because I came to the August meeting, my wife came to the September meeting. Last meeting, I called the only contact I could get. Did you get that from the selectman? I left a message with him.
I did not get any message from the selectman.
Well,
no.
whatever you could ask him. I said, I'm not going to be able to make the meeting on whatever night that was. I forgot the reason at the time, but so that was one meeting missed. And that was with notification.
Well, we've actually continued this for quite a while, quite
I
a
know.
number of meetings. So-
Part of it is because I totally disagree with you. I think you're being totally unreasonable. I reached out to a good friend of mine who's a real estate lawyer, and I called him yesterday. I'm going to try to keep this fluid. I contacted him, asked him for some advice. What did he recommend? He said, well, give me the reference number, which I did. And subsequent to that, he called me back and said that he was going to reach out to a botanist, whose name I have no clue. And I called him subsequent to that, and that was just the other day. And he's out of town for a couple of weeks. I left a message with him, and subsequent to that, he hasn't returned my call. So I'm not sure what's up with that. So that's where I am legally. Subsequent to that, which was today, my wife made a call to another attorney who was recommended to somebody. This is like, she's out of town, my wife. She called this attorney through some other reference. So I don't know if we're gonna use that second one. I don't think so, but I don't know. So I don't really want to comment too much about resolution without that coming from the words of or the mouth of my lawyer. So I think that is kind of regular, right? If I got a lawyer on it, why am I doing the talking?
Well, but
I'd like to make some points because this is the board is like, this is me, these are my thoughts. I find the board as like contentious for things that are resolvable by people that are reasonable. And I don't know why that is, but sometimes things like these things, boards made of volunteers, good-intentioned citizens, that's the nature of the beast in many cases. I'm not pointing at any one person, but I will say a couple of things from the meeting that I attended, which had really nothing to do with me, but I was here for quite a while, and I heard some comments made from the board, which I thought was so inappropriate, so disrespectful.
Please speak to your project. Please speak to your project.
No, this is relative to my project, because this is what I heard when I was at this meeting. I'm a public citizen. I can make my comments, can't I?
I ask you, we're here to talk about our wetland bylaws and this project.
You're proving my point. You're being contentious. You won't let me say what I want to say. That was disrespectful coming from the board. Not to me, to the town.
Can you just please speak to your project specifically? Nobody else's. We're here to talk about your
I
project.
already talked about my project.
Okay.
I just told you.
Now, can I ask a question? Is GAF Engineering still representing this
No, I
project?
fired them.
You fired them. And do you have a replacement engineering?
I have one, but that's not a contract on it.
Okay. So we're going to continue until we can get a new engineering plan?
Yeah, and what do I have to do to go about appeasing you or meeting your standards of making a public comment relative to what goes on inside these walls when you have meetings that are open to the public? They're open to the public, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
All right, well, why did you interrupt me with...
Because I'm asking you to stay on topic.
I did stay on top. Up until that point, that was
Yes.
strictly what...
And when you went off to another meeting and another hearing, that's not this. We're asking you to stay on the topic of our hearing.
Are you saying it was inaccurate?
I don't know what you were talking about. You
Okay,
didn't
it's just
say
like this
specific-
man's comment that I had missed several meetings, where I hadn't missed any, but with the notification. One, with notification.
I'm going to respond to that one. Give me a second.
I have the dates, Sandy, if you want them.
Do you have the dates?
It started supposedly on January 20th, 2021. The public hearings that I have that we did not have representation were July, August 4th, August 18th, and October 6th.
Oh, you mean more than once a month?
We meet twice a month.
Twice a month.
Oh, well, all right. Then I retract my comment on that. Then I thought you meant once a month. I came here in August. You said there was nobody here in August? I was here in August.
I don't have you as being here in August.
Well, I was here, and so was Bob Rogers. I think it's Bob Rogers. You say tonight.
No, Bob Rogers is.
Bob, something Rogers.
Your contractor?
Yeah. No, not a contractor, from the engineering.
The engineer, yeah, he was here for one meeting with you, correct?
Right,
And then we haven't seen anybody
So-
since.
Yes, my wife came the next meeting, the next
So
time that it was
that
on.
is why we were saying that there were a lot of continuations, because there was nobody here representing the particular project, and now we understand why, because we meet twice a month.
Yeah, I didn't realize, nor would I necessarily agree to a 2-week, that's what you're saying, so you haven't got the thing, I haven't got the thing in order for one meeting, and 2 weeks later, I'm gonna have it done? Something that you noticed
some
last
people-
January?
Well, yes, the first meeting was July 21st. It was continued until August 18th.
And that's the meeting I was
Yep.
in attendance. You
And
must have
then-
notes on it, right?
Yep, and then it was
Minutes of the
continued
meeting?
until 9/1. Then it was continued.
No, I'm not questioning that.
So there, okay, we
I
understand.
misspoke that,
Okay.
thinking there was only one
Now
meeting a
we'll-
month.
You are working on getting an engineer that that could represent you in a solution to the problem, right?
Yeah, and, you know, one of my comments that you interrupted me on, or forbade me from speaking on, was relative to my situation.
All right, then talk about your situation.
Well, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have framed it the way I did. I was trying to make a point. I thought there were two ladies on this side.
And one of them's not here tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, and I don't think it was you, so if it was, so be it. But a couple of comments came out from one of the ladies. One was about my stairs to the engineer that I ended up paying over $3,000 for, and he was working for you. Because when the woman made the comment, she said, I thought really snidely, well, would you want to walk on those stairs? They're all overgrown right now. And he said, and he kind of like, without thinking, said, well, not really. There's nothing wrong with those stairs, and not with the railings either. That is so bizarre. And I think it was the same woman that made the comment, again, during the meeting, not addressing it to me, about caveat emptor. Is that the way things work here? I mean, I thought you were
Did I understand? Is that buyer beware, if I remember?
Yes, but they didn't even, I happen to know what it is, and a lot of people know what it is, but the thing is, that's like some off-the-cuff comment, like, hey, it's all up to you. If that were the case, then you wouldn't even be here. If the buyer could take on full responsibility, and he's the one that's responsible and is liable for the errors and stuff like that, you wouldn't need regulations and boards to enforce it.
Okay, is there anything else?
No.
If not, we will, any
I
idea
have
when
one-
you might be?
I have one question. When did you fire the engineer?
Well, after I think it was within days after the meeting that I attended.
So in August.
In August, and you haven't gotten
Well,
another engineer?
it might have been the next meeting.
I
whenever that
thought we
was.
got notice. Did we?
We did get notice from the engineer. I would have to check the dates. I don't know that specifically, but yes, we did get an email from the engineer.
Okay, is that relevant? I mean, how is it?
Well, you're in violation, and
Pardon me?
you're in violation. You fired the engineer, and you haven't gotten another engineer.
Well, that's another thing. I'm curious, what is your solution?
Our solution is to return the land to what it was before this illegal wall went up.
It was illegal because I didn't get the permit.
I'm not even sure you would have been permitted it.
Well, the
We
reason,
don't know when we're waiting for the
no, we don't know.
engineer to come back with an alternative for us, and we will look at it and understand,
but there were other things from that first meeting, if I may. There was something I was trying to remember as, you said, okay, you all set, kind of thing, and I said, yes. And I said, but there was one thing, and I couldn't remember what it was. I have a bunch of neighbors that have kind of similar things. One was just cavalierly dismissed by one of the ladies again over here about, well, it looks like they built a nice little garden there or something, like a little rest area. It's terraced, right? But that's on land that's way ahead of me. And then there was a relative to another neighbor In other words, there was no problem there, apparently. I don't know why, but there wasn't. And another neighbor with an issue that was brought up, the response was, well, that was probably done before we were here. When did that happen? Because I don't know. When did you folks, when did it become like an enforced situation relative to what you're doing right now?
In the late 70s.
Okay. Well, I guarantee you that my situation is at least as timely as that neighbor's situation. And it was just sloughed off as like, well, that was probably done before we were here. Well, my stuff was done before, and the thing I couldn't remember was ahead of the wall, in other words, to the seaside as opposed to the land side, there is a series of heavy metal piping on large poured, I think it's poured, cement footings that run the span of my property that have been there for decades. That was there before the wall. So in other words, there was a situation of something to retard the land from falling in towards, the protected land. That was there way before we bought that property. So what we're doing is actually just like a new version of trying to accomplish what they tried to accomplish in a more simple way, a lot less expensive, I can assure you, but they have, and they're still there. I don't know if they're all still there.
They're still there.
Oh, so you saw that? Then how
I
could...
saw them back when I first looked at the property.
So was that on town records then?
I have no idea. I just saw them in the marsh.
Okay, no, not in the marsh, on the marsh side, but...
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, those who've been there we've only been there 16 years, so that thing was way before us.
Well,
So my point is, if that was already there, and I built something on the safer side, the land side, to accomplish the same thing that was there for, why is not that situation, given the same, well, that was probably done before we were
It would
here?
have been different if the plan had been submitted to us before you did the work.
No, I realize, and shame on me, but
that-
I tried to give you what I thought was a reasonable excuse. I mean, we're in the middle of a bloody global pandemic. The town hall is shut down. You can't get in there. And yes, did I make a mistake? I told you that. I went to the town hall. I made several calls several times. And I couldn't get in any door. It was all locked. This is going back before the project. This was around election time, the 2016. No, right, 2020, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
there was a time the town hall was actually closed to everybody.
Yes.
Yes.
This is the time I'm talking about.
All right. If there's nothing else, we...
So I think that we need to not just throw another continuation at this
Correct.
project. We need to come up with a date, because this project, it's been continued, it's been extended way too long. We need to have...
What do you mean, wait too long? What's the law say on that?
What was that?
What does the law say on that? Are you just arbitrarily picking it's way too long?
We've been dealing with this violation since January.
At the stop, yeah, okay.
It doesn't...
Yeah, but what are you using to enforce your arbitrary, we've met X number of...
If we continue,
Yeah.
can you give us some idea where you might be able to come before us with something that we could look at with a plan from an engineer? The alternative is to close this and file brand-new filings under a new engineer.
Okay, run that by me again, because I'm not sure what you want me to swear to.
We can continue if
Yeah.
you can give us some idea when you might be back to us. The alternative is to close this without a finding and have you refile with all the fees that are due with the new filing.
Look, I'm not trying to,
If you can give us an idea when you might be able to come back to us, we can continue until that date. Our next meeting is November 3rd.
you know, I'd like to say yes, but I'll be honest with you, I'm dealing with a few things personally right now. And November 3rd, I wouldn't want to say, because that's 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
Okay, 2 weeks. I haven't heard back from my lawyer yet on what his plan of attack is. And he's supposed to be gone for 2 weeks. That was the exact message I was given. I left a message on his machine. I'm not saying he won't call me back, but I don't know where he is. And what's the next meeting after that?
2 weeks after that.
All right, how about that
17th.
meeting?
Well, yeah, 17th, November 17th, right? Yeah, November 17th. You
Is
wanna
that
continue-
amenable to you?
You want to continue until November 17th?
I'd like to go beyond that, but yeah, November 17th.
And he'll have a plan with an,
Well,
he'll have something to show us, or are we just going to sit and talk through the whole thing again?
we don't know.
Well, you think
Well-
I like this?
Well, we need...
No, I'm serious. Do you
You're
think I enjoyed this?
You are in violation.
I know I'm in
You need to
violation.
come
Give me a
up-
break, will you? I can't believe it.
All
That's what I'm
right,
saying.
all right, excuse me, William, okay. I'll take someone make a motion to continue until 11/17.
I move that we continue this hearing until November 17th, 2021.
Second.
I have a motion,
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? Carol?
Yes.
Ron?
No.
Kwame?
Yes.
Denise?
No.
Michael?
Yes.
And me, yes. You're
Thank you.
continued until the 17th of November.
Will I get a notice of that?
This is
You're-
your
this
notice
is it.
right now.
No, I'm
This-
saying, will I get a
This is
written
your-
notice, something, email or something like that?
No, this is it.
This is it, okay. That's all I was asking. I didn't
Yep.
have to get a smart ass answer.
Yep, this is it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it 403?
420.
420.
430?
2.
432?
420. We only
420.
have 6 of us.
420.
Yes.
Okay.
The next one is Mario Cineri. Is there anybody here for this?
Signore.
Have I ever got it right?
Yes, of course you have.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Bob. How are you?
Good, how
Please
are you, sir?
identify yourself for the record.
Bob Rogers, GAF Engineering, representing Mario and Alice Signori.
And I believe we were continuing this until
We continued it after the last hearing so that
at Eelgrass.
the commission, well, no, we went through all that at the last hearing. We provided the new report from Brad Holmes and ECR that there were no eelgrass beds encountered. So I think we were on a path to approve the new pier. I believe the commission wanted couple of weeks to think about how to treat the pier that was constructed.
Okay. So then I'll let Mr. Bichette speak to the lack of my notes.
What's the address on this one? What's the address on this one?
This is 91 Edgewater.
I've got this one. That was for the video thing.
I'm set.
This is a couple pages. Different pages. Got it? No, this is all one package.
All right.
Okay, so this site is at 91 Edgewater Drive, and the project originally proposed the construction of a pier, ramp, and float within land under the ocean, within land containing shellfish. salt marsh, and a coastal flood zone. The site is also within the estimated habitat of rare and endangered species. A 243-foot pier ramp and float system was proposed, and this would require the installation of 28 pilings for the structure. The area is in fairly shallow water, which would barely have 2 feet of water even at that distance. So the structure would have to be constructed partially from a floating barge and on the inland side with another methodology to drive the posts. And so I had a curiosity of how that would be done. We did have the issue with the eelgrass. Initially, we had a report that stated there was eelgrass in the project location, and then mysteriously, the eelgrass all disappeared. So we had a second review, which stated that they did not really find eelgrass present in the location anymore. We did get comments from the Division of Marine Fisheries, who had concerns for the shallow water depth and creating turbidity at this site during construction. And as Bob had mentioned, this had been continued to get some further input on the eelgrass and also to consider what to do with the existing dock that had been started to be reconstructed with no permits. In my view, the dock that's been started to be reconstructed should not have been done in the manner that it was, with the materials that it was. And so I just assume see that removed personally. As far as the proposed pier, if the water depth that's required exists, then I'm okay with going forward with permitting that. But like I said, I am curious about the eelgrass studies. I did speak to the consultant who did the eelgrass study, and they stated that there could have been some issue with recent storms, which might have caused that to not exist. Even in their first report, they did say that eelgrass that they identified was very sparse. It was not a thick eelgrass bed in that location. We have had several violations on this property. First, when there was a septic project that was approved, there was some violations with how that was done. Then, of course, we had the unpermitted reconstruction of the old dock. So there's been a couple of issues. They've been addressed previously, but I just wanted to bring that up as well. So currently, we're at a state where the commission would have to consider approving this new proposed pier and, in my opinion, removing the existing unpermitted pier.
Bob, anything to add?
Just that, you know, another reason for the continuance was that Brad Holmes had provided a link to a video of his camera work, which I said could cause vertigo.
I was going to say,
And so, I hope that people that wanted to took the opportunity to see that. Again, it was never an area that was mapped for eelgrass. We had never found any out there, but the camera, doesn't lie, and so it was out there sparse, but not, when he went back. So we do believe, you can see the elevations just at the end of the float. So, it's 4.3 is the least amount of depth at the float. Mean low water is minus 2.2. So 4.3 is just slightly over the 2 feet, and then it gets better a little ways out, 4.7, 4.9, 4.9, and so. We're certainly agreeable to the 30-inch float stops. We think we have the water depth. They very much would like to get this one permitted and remove the old one and the new one. and I guess I don't have anything to say about the other violations. We're trying to work with them to either request an amended order of conditions for the area with the septic system, or, bring it into compliance with some type of a grass paved system. So I still have to coordinate that part of it with them, but we would appreciate receiving a positive order of conditions for the new pier with the conditions of time of year and float stops, and provide a construction methodology for the driving of piles and construction of the pier to the Conservation Office for review prior to the start of the installation. That's not going to be a problem at all, because of, if we get approval from this commission, then, it takes a good 9 months to get the Chapter 91. So, this is already, say, next fall's project, if they can get to that point. So there's plenty of time for them to select a contractor and provide a narrative on construction methodology.
Thank you. Questions on the board? Michael?
No questions?
Denise?
The eelgrass that was found last year, there was presence of eelgrass, there was oysters, and there were quahogs, granted in a small...
That was July of this year.
Of this year?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I think that's a clear indication that the estuarian ecosystem is coming back in that area, probably because the dock wasn't there. And that...
There's never been a dock that far out in the water.
And now they want to put it all the way out into that area, correct?
It's set at the maximum distance from mean high water under the bylaw. It's 2 feet shorter than that. But so let's call it 200 feet. That's the maximum allowed in Wareham's bylaw. It's certainly a reasonably long distance, and the purpose is so that you get to the water depth that you need, so that you're not impacting the bottom, and whether it be vegetation or the creatures.
Or the creatures.
And I believe we had no correspondence that I'm aware of, and certainly no objection from the harbor master.
Okay. That's my other question. How much longer is this than the dock that was there?
Well, the one that was there was very short. They were really relying on a series of floats to get out to, which I measured. I went out there. The floats that are out there now, they have about 2 feet of water, but we updated our soundings, and they matched sort of the old ones. So it's not a good situation right now with their dock, and even though let's say that the family has had it there since the 70s or the 80s, it's not a good situation when the floats basically sit right on the bottom at low tide. So this done properly, this would be fully compliant, I believe, with the bylaw.
Thank you.
Rami?
No questions, thank you.
Carol?
No questions.
Ron?
Still a little from the video.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, I think that I could come to agreement with Dave on a new pier, but, some of my concerns would be obviously addressing the work that was done to the old pier. I think it just needs to go 100% and just start from scratch. But then also, obviously, we want to address the violations and make sure that, from a fine perspective is one, and then obviously compliance with the other project and getting that back where it needs to be. But this project specifically, I could support it as long as we have the certain conditions, one of them being, I think, removal of the old pier and starting from the beginning.
Right. So, yeah, so I guess, it's to your purview as to the time frame of that. And so maybe that could be put in a special condition.
I mean, I would think sooner rather than later from a safety perspective. That would be but,
Yeah, well, and so they just don't have anything right now so obviously it's, they've, basically we had filed for the new pier prior to them doing the work for the one that's there now. So they don't really have a, if, other than a special condition, I don't know, I think that would be the proper way to put them on notice that it, so many days, however you want to do it.
Dave, you mentioned time of year. Is there a time of year in which this work should not be done? I don't have a note on that.
I didn't see a note for a time of year restriction.
Okay. So we're looking at, is there anybody here that would like to speak to this project? I'm seeing none. My notes indicate that we would be looking for a 30-inch float stop.
Correct.
We would be, before any work is done, we would get information regarding the construction of this pier, whether or not it's be upland, waterside, or landside.
Yes.
Before any work is done, we need to see how the engineer expects to do it, and that remove all the old and incorrectly built pier within, before the end of December.
That sounds,
Before the end of December, is that sounding
That
good?
sounds reasonable.
By 12/31.
so then would we come in for a partial certificate of compliance after that's done, or we just track it?
No, I think we're going to do a certification of compliant, certification, order of conditions now with that embedded in the order of conditions,
Right.
right?
So what would you be looking
So-
for a partial for?
Well, no, just an acknowledgement that they, so let's assume they do the right thing and, or per the wishes of the commission, and so they remove it by December 31st. I suppose,
Then they just call me and say, we've done
Okay.
it, and if I go by there and they haven't, then there's
right, it
gonna
would be a new enforcement order.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
That's better than my idea.
So motion to close the hearing.
Wait, is there anybody here to speak to this project? Yes, please come forward and identify yourself.
Good evening, Annie Hayes. I might have been,
Annie, if you don't mind, thank you.
I might have been rustling papers, forgive me. What are these poles coated with?
Oh, well, it's going to be green heart pilings for the new pier. It's just going to be 12-inch green heart pilings.
Green what?
Green heart. It's a type of wood.
Oh, I see. So it's a natural wood? There's no
Yes.
coating, there's no treatment for them?
Well, so the other lumber gets coated, but I think it's ACQ. It's a non-leaching treatment for the wood.
These proposed pilings are not treated. They're just natural wood.
Right.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, same as, say, onset pier.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, is there anybody else? If not,
Motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstains, the hearing is closed. Who wants to take a shot at the order of conditions?
I took a shot at the last one. I'm going to give this one to Denise.
I'm at a loss. I really,
You at a loss?
Let me,
I am at a loss.
I would
It's
suggest
exactly all
we-
the conditions. If we just say that we're going to approve it with the conditions as stated by Sandy.
I would state that, I was going to say, I would like a motion for us to issue the standard order conditions with the following conditions: a 30-inch float stop, no work is to be done until we have an engineering plan for the construction of the land side and water side, and that all existing old and new piers will be removed from the site from 12/31/21. That is my recommendation for the order of conditions.
That is the motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was at a loss on that one.
I can't believe I put you at a loss for words.
Yes, you did. Score one for
It's
you,
because you gave
Ron.
me that candy bar.
See if I give you a candy bar next week.
While we're signing, does anybody have the score?
It's not good.
Oh.
Last
thank
time
you.
it was 7-1.
I'm sorry I asked.
Why'd you ask?
The next hearing is Scott Gray, and they've asked for a continuance. Is there anybody here for that project? They've asked for a continuance until November 3rd.
There's always
Can someone make a
motion to
please?
continue to November 3rd.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. We're continued until November 3rd.
There's always game 6.
All right, the next one is, Krista Foley has asked for a continuance until November 3rd.
Move to continue to November 3rd.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. We're continued until 11/3. The next hearing is George Barrett, and they've asked for a continuance.
Motion to continue to November 3rd also?
Yes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstained. We're continued until 11/3, Mr. Barrett. Okay, the next hearing is there, we have Wendy S. Anderson. Anybody here for that project? Please identify yourself.
For the record, I'm Dave DeVignan from Schneider, DeVignan and Leone.
Okay. I saw a piece of document come out very late this afternoon regarding, who did it?
Natural heritage.
National Heritage. That talked about the plovers. You see it?
Yes, I did.
Good old piping plovers.
This is all one thing.
All set?
All set.
I have.
This project site is at 247 Great Neck Road, and this application is in response to an enforcement order that was issued for the unpermitted construction of a 220-foot stone wall and a 60-foot stone jetty on a coastal beach. This notice of intent is being submitted to remove the unpermitted structures and redistribute the stone onto the coastal beach where the stone was taken from to construct the wall. Once the wall is removed, the beach would be restored and stabilized with jute netting and planting with beach grass. The removal of the stone and redistribution would be done with a rubber-tired backhoe. I would recommend timber mats be used on the beach where the machine will traverse. The work would need to be done during the lower tidal range. The machine would be stored in an upland area when it's not in use doing the work. Access to the beach would be through an existing pathway that goes from the lawn area down to the beach. At the last meeting, we had continued the hearing because we did not have comments from Mass Natural Heritage. We have now received their comments, and they are requesting or requiring a time of year restriction for the work at the site so that no work is done from April 1st to August 31st to protect nesting piping plovers. We did receive a DEP file number, so at this point I would recommend the issuance of the order of conditions with the standard conditions and the added conditions, again, that the work be done with the rubber tire backhoe, that timber mats be used for the machine to traverse the beach, that the smaller stones not be dispersed near the salt marsh area, as we had discussed previously, and that there be the time of year restriction included as a condition as requested or required by Mass Natural Heritage from April 1st to August 31st.
Sorry, the small stones not in the salt marsh?
Or near that area. The plan was changed to show that that would not happen in that area.
So that's 1, 2, oh, the machine stored upland, 1, 2, 3, 4, I see 5 conditions. The machine is stored on the upland?
Yep.
That's 5, okay. Would you like, anything you'd like to add?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. The only thing I would add is the conditions that were mentioned as far as the size of the stone being placed, not smaller stuff, not in front of the marsh, it's on the plan. On the plan also, we show timber mats, but it's to traverse inside the intertidal zone, not across the beach that is in front of the wall. That's more of a rocky beach. It's pretty stable, and I'm not sure that timber mats would be a good idea to...
Probably break them.
220 feet of mats is quite a bit. It actually would slow the project down if we had to lay down that much. So we show on the plan through the intertidal zone because that's where they'll be going back and forth to take the material and disperse it. Whereas on the beach, the work will be done incrementally from one end. Once they're done with that end, there won't be back and forth going on as they work their way to the entry point for where it's going, if that makes sense.
Dave, is that all right?
If the area is stable, if there's areas that are not, then we may have to revisit that.
So timber mats as needed for stable,
Yeah.
timber mats as needed to stabilize the beach. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak for this project? I'm going to ask around the board. Carol, any questions?
No questions.
Ron?
No questions.
Michael?
No questions?
Denise?
Was there a concern at one point about how you were getting or where you were going to place these rocks once you got them out there? How are they, I mean, how do you know where to put them?
Well, if you go out at low tide, it's pretty obvious towards the lower part of the intertidal zone. That's where there are rocks now.
That's where they came
we believe
from?
we've all taken them from.
Okay.
So we're going to just disperse between that area and the marsh area and extend it to the west, up the shoreline.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Kwame?
I know there's a lot of detailed work, but when did the wildlife say they approved? It's time sensitive, right? So I didn't get that.
We cannot
Well,
do
this
any
afternoon-
work from April 1 to August
August
31.
31st.
It came out late this afternoon. I think I got it about 6 o'clock.
Oh.
Yes.
Maybe
I didn't even
5:30.
see.
Yeah, it was pretty late.
Yeah.
We pushed hard to try and get it for today.
Yeah. All right. We have no one in the audience, so
Motion to close the hearing.
I have a motion to close the hearing.
Second?
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the hearing is closed.
Thank you.
We're going to issue a standard order of conditions with, I can make a recommendation that these be included in the standard order of conditions,
Yes, please.
that it be rubbered tired backhoe, be used on the beach, timber mats as needed to stabilize the beach. The machinery will be stored upland. The work will not be done between April 1st and August 31st because of those little plovers. And the small stones will not be placed in or near the salt marsh. I believe I've covered them all.
That is the motion.
That is the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain?
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night. The next hearing is Wareham MA3 LLC in care of Atlantic Design Engineering. Is there anybody here for this project?
I don't believe there's any
I don't see
representation.
anybody here for that project.
Are we waiting for a hydrogeologist report or something on this for the planning board? That's what
Yeah,
we're waiting for?
hydrologist study.
Yeah. You haven't gotten that?
I don't think so. It's
No.
Okay.
it's a lot of money.
Did you have a commenter, though?
Yes, it's being discussed on the planning board, and they're waiting for a particular plan about the issue of the water and the glacier, whatever, a bunch of rocks underneath it. It's
Glacial
causing
till.
an issue with
Causing
the
an issue.
water.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
I think you have a comment.
We have to continue this.
yes, sir, wait a second. We normally don't comment on continued hearings. It's up to the board.
It's here. Might as well let
Okay.
her speak.
Is it quick, or is there a lot of stuff to talk about?
We waited for how many months now to speak on this issue, and Mr. Shanahan's either been a no-show or they do the continuance.
So,
There is a report for the hydrogeologist as they report.
so I'll say that we give them, if they want to speak, give them 10 minutes, no more.
No,
No, 5 minutes.
5?
5. Okay. So 5. Chair says 5 minutes, no more.
We'll wait.
You'll wait. You can have more. Okay.
So we will ask for a continuance. We'll give them until, to continue November 3rd.
Hold on, Sandy. Hold on.
5 minutes each or collectively?
Collectively. 5 minutes.
Like 1 minute each?
2.5.
No, but I would like to see it. I'm going to use this time.
You know, you have to come up. You want to use this time? Keep in mind, he's not here to respond or hear you. Please identify yourself and lower your mask so we can hear you.
I would like to give people a handout, please.
Okay?
She hasn't identified herself yet.
Thank you.
Who are you?
Annie Hayes, sir.
Annie Hayes.
Sandy.
Thank you. Get one.
I had given this to Dave a couple months back. Kevin Barsh, who was on the Lands Trust, gave it to me because it always seemed to me, I am in a butter. Those 3 lines are my old farm. Do you see the black lines? That's me. And I bump right into the wetlands section of the Faring Hill project. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. It always seemed to me that I know the ridge, and that highland is nourishment for my land, for the conservation land, for the streams that go from it, I mean, that hill just goes out and out and out from the ridge. It's not, you know, when you're on the road, you can, if you feel like a drop of water, you can just roll down all the way to the swamp, and that's where the lowland will hold the water, where the river is. So it's nourishing the Sipican and the Weweantic rivers. And the proponents have said that they're not removing any soil, but that's a linguistic almost trick because they're moving it around. And before George Barrett left, he was looking at the plans and he said, well, it looks like you're going to knock off 10 feet of the ridge. So and then he said, well, maybe less. And they said, no, we're not removing any land. And then, you know, they're building berms, they're moving it around, they're doing this, they're doing that. I have a wet meadow that's directly nourished from this, never mind all of the rest of it, but I can speak to that. And in this wet meadow, I'm going to try to be fast, but I'm at elevation 60. The abutting land from the Crespi project is 60 feet as well, and that's 30 feet down from the ridge. That's a real slope. This is what the land on the Crespi, there are no markings there, but this is either our land, my land, or his land. It's right in where my wet meadow is and in the area that I must bump into his land. And they are exactly the same, designated the same elevation on the map. So that's what it looks like. And these are, like almost up to my waist. It's like a tropical wetland in there in the summer, even as it gets hotter. So, and when I was walking on the conservation land right next to it last week, the flow of the streams come right down. They parallel almost the road, but they come right down off the ridge, and they are nourishing those streams. You can see them. I mean, there was a lot of water. So first they're going to put outflow pipes somewhere. I can't see that on the map. I don't know if anybody else can, but that was a question I have because arrows go one way and then they go another way, and it seems that they're going to have two outflow places, one in the northeast corner, which is me, and one in the southwest, which is already really muddy, wet, murky, according to the people who abut on the other side of the railroad tracks. So they'd have to speak to that. What do I want to say about this? Oh, so one of the things Mr. Rowley said that really struck me was that...
1 minute.
Okay, I'll just finish with this. Was that, first of all, you have a system that holds water beautifully, filters it, it goes down to the river and all of the surrounding land, and it nourishes all of that land. If you have an imbalance in that, you're going to have, we have so many private wells, and they can get sediment in them, they can get, pollution that's not filtered. So when you remove all the trees, you uproot everything. What do you have? Whatever this soil is now, it can very well move. So they're going to try to drain it so it doesn't move. What Mr. Rowley said that was really striking to me is that you're taking samples now in pits, but when you remove all the roots, what have you done? You've just tumbled all of that sand around. So do you even know how it filters? What the filtration is? David, does that sound reasonable to you?
Time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, keep in mind, you're speaking, you will not ask you to repeat. You're speaking to the board now, so when there's another public hearing, we'll ask you not to repeat this because you've already presented it to us.
I won't. I have other stuff. Thank you.
You have other stuff. And you, sir?
Eric Lentula, 15 Squirrel Island Road. I live right behind these abutters on Fairing Hill, which does affect my property. I have many conservation issues that need more than just a few minutes. It's less 2 pages. I'm only going to address the meetings themselves. We have waited a long time to sit here and speak with Mr. Shanahan present. Here again tonight, he doesn't even show up. Does he notify the board when he doesn't show up? We have been to many meetings here. He's dragging his feet. The board, they're going to bring in a hydrogeologist, as they call him. They're going to be making a decision very soon. We can't even address half these issues we should be talking about with him here, that he could be talking about them specifically to us and answering those questions. We haven't had one meeting with this committee here with him yet. And he's pulled that stuff with the board as well. They had to give him a special invitation to show up.
Can you please comment on the project, not his attendance?
Well, as a lot of...
Just as frustrating for us that it keeps being continued.
I understand.
We haven't had
I
a
know.
chance to talk to him about the plans or his representative as the plans they're representing, so it's difficult.
Yeah, and
Totally
it's been many weeks, it's been months
And
now.
if we had known it was not, would be continued, we would have said so at the beginning of the meeting, so you didn't have to sit around.
Understandable, but, and...
We've had no communication regarding the
Yeah, but
continuance of this
there's
meeting.
been a habit of this now since this first came
Yep.
to the board's attention.
Well, I'll assure you, everybody will
It's
be,
difficult when we
everybody will
make
be
our
heard.
plans.
You know,
Pardon?
everybody's going to have their chance to be heard, and I can understand your frustration from coming, but, we're just equally as frustrated because this isn't the only project where people continue or don't show up. So I understand your frustration from a board perspective. It's frustrating. I can't
Understandable.
imagine you having to, you don't have to sit here for 3 hours if you knew that you didn't have to. We're here, we sit through every one of them, so I understand the frustration, but you will be heard. So don't think that we won't let you be heard.
appreciated. Yes, there's frustration because it's a very important project. It's important to a lot of the community members here in the neighborhood. 'Cause
Absolutely.
This is, there's issues. So I'll save those comments though for when he's here and we
Yes,
can
so
really
he can
talk
hear
about
them.
them.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else want to comment? Yes, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy McHale, Fairing Hill Road. Thank you for the opportunity. My comment is not on the project per se, and I'm not sure if it's something that this board is aware of or not, but the contract that the planning board has entered into with Mr. Shanahan for the hydrogeologist involves it's with Horsley and Witten
Horsley and
Group.
Witten.
Horsley Witten.
Yeah, exactly. And originally, when that was discussed, it was going to be a two-step process. One, they were going to, Horsley Witten was going to review all of the appropriate information, data that was available to them, then decide if indeed it was necessary to go and dig test pits and do the groundwork. Subsequently, Mr. Shanahan came back and said, hey, we've got backhoes and whatnot. Why don't we just combine the whole thing and we'll do it all in one fell swoop? So that is what they have finally decided to do. But it is disturbing that this is no longer apparently an independent analysis by a hydrogeologist. It's being partially driven by the developer who's providing the backhoe, the guys doing the on-site work with supervision. So there's a disconnect here as to what the citizens thought was going to happen and what's actually being done. So I just wanted to make this board aware of it in case there were questions about that.
Did you share your concerns with the planning board?
I was not allowed to speak at the last planning board meeting, which was Monday night when they finalized this. And I have subsequently sent a note to both Mr. Swenson and Mr. Buckland about my concerns.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
So you're saying that it's possible that the study could be biased?
That is my point.
If I'm understanding your comments correctly?
That is exactly my comment.
The one thing I would hope to rely on is obviously the town's engineer is ultimately going to review what these people present. So I'm curious to hear what his thoughts are going to be once that study is done and once that information is provided to him. Obviously, we don't know what that's going to contain yet, but I'm going to want to hear what his comments are relative to the integrity of the study that's done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? If not, I'll ask for a continuance till 11:03.
Motion to continue to 11:03.
Second.
I
Second.
have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstained? We're continued until 11:03. The next hearing, Wareham PV I or 1?
1.
Wareham
That's what it says on
PV
there.
1. Anybody here for that project?
No, I think we're in the same position because again, there's some information that's needed for this project as well in terms of a town engineer's review, which has not been completed yet.
Well, you also have a situation that's been, questions been asked at the planning board, whether or not it's, I know it's nothing to do with us, as to which solar bylaw this project falls under. So we may, so just for a discussion point, that does not change what our bylaws are for the wetlands, but it could be a project that doesn't go forward because of solar bylaws. So, but they're not here. Anybody here want to speak on this project? Okay,
I have a question, though.
yeah.
We talked about at the last meeting with them about a plan in place for decommissioning. And they said that there was a plan in place for decommissioning 20 years down the line. Is money being set aside in escrow for that?
I believe that's up to the planning board.
The planning board handles that, because 20 years down the line, if this
Who knows
company
what it's like or
isn't
how
in
it's...
business
Yes.
anymore,
I believe that's an issue for the planning board for
Planning
their
board handles that.
decommissioning of the solar fields when they no longer provide what they have to do. So there's nobody here to talk about this one, so everybody must be here for certification of compliances. So let's get a motion to continue this one.
Motion to continue to 11th.
Yes. Nancy's asking if we voted to continue. I thought we did.
Yes, we voted to continue. Yes.
Thank you. Of course, it's almost 8:30. I do start to forget. So we have a motion. Do I have a motion to continue this hearing until November 3rd?
Motion to continue to 11/3.
Second.
I heard a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're continue this one until 11:03. So, Mr. Pichette, up to you. I'm hoping that there's everybody here for certification of compliances. I'm seeing yes. I'm seeing yeses. So.
I see some head shaking.
So, they waited long.
Okay, so the first one, 28 Fisherman's Cove Road, was for a seawall reconstruction repair project. That project has been completed according to the order, but during the project, there was an instance when I went to the site and the contractor had made quite a mess on the beach in terms of putting materials on the beach that weren't supposed to be there. I directed him to get that cleaned up as soon as possible before things continued, but which he attempted to do. But my point is that it shouldn't have gotten to that degree in the first place. So the project is now complete. The area is cleaned up. I would recommend the issuance of the certificate of compliance, but with a $100 fine for not adhering to the conditions as he should have.
Is that for the contractor and the homeowner?
For the contractor, because he's the one that was the applicant and the contractor.
Okay.
So I make a motion for the certificate of compliance with a $100 fine for the issues on the beach.
That's the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Okay, here's the paperwork. $100 fine for messing up the beach. Okay. Next one. Rose Point. I remember that address. There you go.
Diane Gustafson.
Yes.
The next certificate of compliance request is for Diane Gustafson, 15 Kennedy Street. Folks can come up. So this
Evening.
project involved the reconstruction of a house at this location in the buffer zone to wetlands. This project was permitted quite some time ago and then had quite a number of continuances and so forth. The house is now completed. What has occurred, though, is there was an area behind the house that was identified as wetland on the original plan. And that area now is more or less mowed and part of the yard. So that's really the issue I want to bring up and discuss and have the applicants kind of describe the circumstances they see it, and then we can come to some conclusion with it. So I'll allow the property owners to discuss this. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Rob Taylor. This property was originally purchased back in 2001. It was mowed when we purchased it and has been mowed right along. I have 3 pictures here from 2003 if you'd like to pass them around. I was told when I was doing this that the historically mowed property could continue to be mowed as I was doing it. And that's what I understood right along as we were doing this project, and no one has ever said anything to me in the 15, 16 years we've been working on this. So that was my side of the story there. As far as the wetlands itself, I wasn't really completely on board with the size of the wetlands that were put there. They were all done by Peter Fletcher at the time, who was really a soil scientist and not really a wetland scientist. And we had our own report done by a wetland engineer that we had submitted to the board back in 2005. And that was a completely different finding from the one that you have. So I was under the understanding that I could continue to mow it as long as I was okay with it being delineated as wetlands, which is, I said I was fine with that. So I didn't contest it, I didn't appeal it, I didn't go through any of that. I just want to mow it. I don't like a yard full of ticks, and that area there is especially really bad with ticks. I went out there to take a picture for you to show you a culvert that was blocked with a tire, and that was what originally made this yard so wet.
Yeah.
And while I was out there, I found a half a dozen ticks on me. I wasn't out there more than 5 minutes. So I don't want grass that high in my backyard. So I don't want to hold you guys up, but if you want me to give you, I got more background. There was 40 inches of rain that came in the 3 months prior to Peter Fletcher going out there and doing that report, which really impacted it. Plus, he went out there on December 20th when the ground was still frozen. And there was ice out there when he came up with the wetland delineation. So I just want to continue to mow it. That was the whole thing with this.
Yeah, it's a new house, and the backyard is all grass.
It is clean. I have a picture of the yard now if you want to see that too.
Yeah.
This is the yard that's in question. It's a printed picture, but there was an old maple, weeping willow that was in the backyard. This is the original. That's the original, what the yard looked like back in 2005.
And that was in the winter.
We did get those permission to take that weeping willow down as part of the order and conditions, which we did. So that part of the yard was dug up just because of that.
Yeah, just.
We did not change any of the elevations or anything. The only change that's been made down there that it makes, I think David thinks that it's a different elevation because it's not as wet as it used to be, is because I removed that tire from that culvert. And that wetlands went back to where it normally is.
And we haven't had
At the-
any water whatsoever.
In 15 years, I haven't seen
Nope,
water on that
Not
property.
one drop of water. No puddles, no nothing. So,
It's not even wet and mushy.
yeah. So, and I think too, I mean, if anybody wanted to go out and look at it, other than, I think David already looked at it, but if someone else wanted to look at it before you make a judgment here, I think it would be in your best interest to see it because it's almost like a golf course back there. It's so plush, you know?
I think,
And we didn't, in that area, there's all types of different vegetation in it. I left it as is, you know? The only place we put grass was just where it was, you know, from the construction area.
Flip the pages.
So,
Each one of these numbers represents this column. There was over 40 inches of rain that fell in that prior 3 months when he went out there. So it really was an unfair report to us when we went out there. But I didn't contest it because I was told I could mow it.
yeah, exactly. And it's noted in the report that it was mowed.
I mean, we're trying to do the right thing out there.
I would agree that it would be a good idea maybe to go take a look at it. I'd like to meet you folks there, and if commission members would want to come out too, that would be, I think, helpful. That way everybody could see it firsthand and then decide.
Yeah,
you wanna
it's
do
just all grass. I mean,
Yes, yeah.
It is dry, even in that heavy rain we just had in September. I went down there, and that water was not on the grass.
Nope.
It comes right up to it on the edge there, but it does not come up on
So
that.
by clearing the culvert, you change the condition of the lawn? By clearing the culvert?
No.
When I pulled the
By,
tire out of
by
it,
getting the water, you change the condition of the wetland by reducing it because it's now
It wasn't
flows.
immediately after because we didn't know what was going on.
But it's now.
It went
higher
down by
dry
itself.
now.
Because you have removed the water as it was supposed to be with the culvert, right? mean, you cleared it, and it now is draining where it
Correct.
didn't
Right.
drain before.
Right,
Okay.
right.
That's exactly the
So-
problem.
Yeah,
that
there was a
there.
big tire in
No one
Mr.
could find that culvert. When Peter went down there, he couldn't even find that
Yeah.
culvert. This
Yeah.
is the culvert that's in question there, if you wanted to see that, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
we
up to
took a
you guys.
picture of it. We didn't even know it was there.
It took me a while to
So
find.
would it be right if Mr. Bichette comes down and
Yeah.
That's fine. This is the culvert that's there, that you can see.
Oh, yeah.
This is what you see from the road, where that culvert is. There's no access to that culvert,
Yeah.
other than in this early spring. And the only
Look at
reason
that,
I
Sandy.
saw the tire there, I was pulling junk out from the edge of that wetland, and when I pulled that tire up, that's when I found that culvert.
Okay. All right, so you'll
I'll set up a
contact them.
time to meet with them, that's a good time for them, and then
Would
I'll,
somebody else want to come out too? Because,
Well, I'm gonna
I
make-
mean,
I'm gonna
they're going to
make-
vote on it. They should see it.
right, I'm gonna make the commission members aware of that, and hopefully Summer all can attend at the same
Okay.
time.
And one other question I had was, down the road further, is there a town highway department or something that should be regularly just maintenance in it, make sure there's no blockage in that pipe? Because, I mean, God forbid, who knows? Because it's a little side road, so people throw things out on the side of the road.
We don't know if it's a private or a public road.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm wondering. I was going to ask that.
There-
That's a question the municipal
Yeah.
maintenance would have to answer.
Yeah, because it's Kennedy Street, so I
Yeah.
thought it was a public road. They do maintain it and plow it, and they just put blacktop, ground up blacktop on it, so it's really made it nice, to drive on. We were going to blacktop the driveways, but my heart said, oh, don't do it, because it's a petroleum product, we're near the wetlands, I want to leave it as natural as possible, And then, a few weeks later, they put that blacktop in there, I was like,
The town did that?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I'm not complaining, I just,
No, I
and it's
know.
nice to drive on.
Right, so if they did some work there, then
Yeah,
maybe.
so I
it
just
is
thought I
a
was
road.
helping,
But we'll have to look at that or ask them
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah, ask, they may not be aware of the culvert.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the only thing,
So-
because it could happen again if it gets blocked.
Yep, Dave will reach out to you, and he'll share with us the time that will be arranged for your meeting.
Okay.
Is this a copy that we can keep, or is this one that you need to take
Is that the
back?
rain
Oh,
one?
you guys can keep that.
Okay.
That is a rainfall, you can check that if you
Yeah.
want. I didn't
We
make that
pulled it
up.
off.
I've had that report, in fact,
Did you keep a copy yourself?
this is my original one, and you can see how yellow it is from
Yeah.
how many years ago
Yeah,
I did
that
it.
was a long time ago.
Because I showed this to Pete when I was out there, and that's when he was like, well, you historically mowed it, you should be able to continue to historically mow it.
And that's what he said, honestly. We
Well,
wouldn't tell
we'll
you
take a look.
anything different.
Thank
know.
you.
Okay, thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Yep, thank you.
Next. There's who's
and-
left?
Pequod Lane?
Yeah, the Pequod Lane, this is 7 Pequod Lane over in Onset. And this project involved the construction of a garage addition at this site that has been constructed according to the order of conditions, so I would recommend the issuance of the certificate of compliance for that project. This is a project that's been completed for some time. It just never got followed up with someone requesting the certificate of compliance for this site.
Motion to accept the certificate of compliance.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain. Yay, nay, abstain. It's, there you go. Just sign the paperwork, please. Is there anything else? Yes. You've been here for a long time.
The last one, it's okay. Ashley Evers, I'm the attorney for 7 Pequod. Out of notice respect, we have a real estate closing that's being held up for this
I
certificate.
had a feeling, which is why it's been no one coming, so you,
I know, Dave's been wonderful. I've been bugging him a lot. But my question is when could I pick up the certificate so I can bring it to the closing?
Yeah, well, since they're signing it tonight, I could have that available tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I won't show up at 9 o'clock, I promise.
Yeah, well, how about if I call you when it's ready?
That's fine. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
but thank you for noticing that there is a order of conditions on the deed. Sometimes it isn't noticed.
To be honest, the landowner thought it was already taken care of. So she had no idea, so I'm glad we were able to resolve it. So thank you.
8:30.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else?
I have some questions.
Yes.
Can we possibly be brought up to date on what is, from what I understand, the DEP has revised the order of conditions on the Borrego to Honut project?
Yes, so I can update or talk to that issue with the commission. So that project at 140 Tyhonet Road was a project that the commission approved, but then it was subsequently appealed by some abutters, okay, under both the State Wetlands Act and our town bylaw. So DEP, under their appeal review, came out and reviewed the project and then subsequently issued what's called a superseding order of conditions, or their decision on the project. And they basically found the same as we did. So they backed up our original approval. And that's what you got a copy of.
Okay.
Okay? So the project is still under appeal under the town's bylaw, but under the State Wetlands Act, the DEP has issued their superseding order, basically with the same decision or conclusion that we had.
We have.
Now, just so everybody's clear, that decision can also be appealed, okay? So I just want everybody to be aware of that, that it is possible to appeal a superseding order of conditions, and then that goes to another level of appeal through DEP, okay?
Okay.
So their process is separate from the appeal under the town bylaw, which is just directly through Superior Court. But that's what you saw, and that's what that related to.
Okay. From what I understand, it hasn't been brought before us yet. Something about a Robinwood Road, Maritime Road. There's a tour that we could attend on Sunday of a project that's going to be brought before us.
Yeah, so there's a proposed subdivision that's at some point going to be in front of us over off of Robinwood Road, which is what I think you're referring to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you know anything about this Sunday tour?
I do not know anything about that, no.
All right. And then there's been a lot of stuff in the paper recently about Conservation Commission in other towns putting a moratorium on projects until they get feedback from what's going on with the poles and the leaching from that. Does that affect us in some way? I mean, can we tell these solar companies that they can't put these poles in the ground, that they have to use specific materials?
Oh, yeah, no, we could do that right now. In other words, if you want to condition a project to require certain materials, then you can do that. You already have that ability. When you're issuing the order of conditions, you can put whatever requirements you want.
Okay, because I know when they were speaking on this project that's up before us, that one of the young lady, I can't remember what her name was, stated that other materials could be used, but we could say no, that those other materials cannot be used.
Correct.
Okay, because I know they're waiting to get some type of outside information as to what is leaching off of these poles in Carver.
Right, and to that particular point, had they proposed that with the project that we reviewed, which we ultimately denied anyway, but had they proposed that, I would have brought that up as an issue that we wouldn't want to see that material used.
Okay. And then my last thing was, I find it a little disturbing with the harbor master that in August, he tells us and gives us an email response that projects in a certain area he would not even entertain, he's totally against them. And now he's coming back to us and telling that he might entertain them.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to speak for his reasoning, but he does get presented with modified plans through some of these reviews. And so if projects are modified to his satisfaction, then he can obviously change his opinion.
Change his opinion.
So I think that's what you've seen in some of these cases. So,
because I know, I mean, we're really trying to be consistent on what we do. And if we're basing one decision on a set of things that we've gotten from the harbor master, and then he changes his mind, I think we need valid reasons as to why his mind has been changed.
Yeah, I think in the most recent one where he commented, he did say in his comment that changes were made to his satisfaction, and therefore he had no further problem with the project. So, again, that's his prerogative based on new information that he might be receiving.
Okay.
I have one thing.
Yes, sir.
Motion to close the meeting. Let's not all second at the same time.
I heard a second, a motion, and I motion to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. White.